सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां दयाकरं दयाकारं दान्तं धर्मप्रवर्तकं प्रणमामि दयानन्दं मदाचार्यवरं परम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नमः श्री शङ्करानन्दगुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोहग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे तत्पादाम्बुरुहद्वन्द्वसेवा निर्मलचेतसां सुखबोधाय तत्त्वस्य विवेकोऽयं विधीयते. So we saw a very important section, and what is that important section? Jiveshwarayoho aikyam, oneness between what? Jiva and Ishvara, through what? The technique called Lakshana. What kind of Lakshana? Bhagatyagat Lakshana. And then we saw that, and we saw how the oneness is indicated. And then this is the not to be taken literally. If you go around saying I am God, then you will sound odd. That is at best. So this is to be understood as the reality of the self. And then this understanding of oneness goes beyond the perceived differences, just like the equation. Just like resolving the equation, even if we take that famous equation, what is that? E is equal to mc squared. Between E and mc, lot of difference. This side energy, that side mass, and all these things. So, but it is an equation. It has to be resolved. So this apparent, even in the mathematical equation, the apparent differences are mithya. And that is what we have to understand. The apparent differences are mithya. Mithya, let us remind ourselves what mithya is. Doesn't mean false. Doesn't mean delusion, illusion. Doesn't mean false. What does it mean? It means two things. It means dependent on Brahman. That which does not have an independent existence by itself is called mithya. And then what else? The second thing we have to understand when we say mithya is, wherever there is mithya, what is there? Satyam has to be there. So whenever there is mithya, there is satyam. Just like wherever there is pot, what should be there? Clay should be there. But we can't say wherever there is clay, pot should be there. Can we say that? Not at all. So similarly, we cannot say wherever there is satyam, there has to be mithya. Not necessary. Not necessary. Sat is sat, mithya is sat. This is what is the formula. So then, so these differences between Ishvara and Jiva are based on what? Mithya. Mithya means what? That which comes and goes, that which is variable. And then we have demonstrated in the text itself the variability of everything, and then other than the one who says everything is variable. Who is that? Brahman, consciousness. I, Sakshi, and even the Sakshita, even the status of Sakshi is what? Variable or invariable? Variable. Only when there is Sakshya in relation to that which is witnessed, it is variable. In sleep, what Sakshi is there? No Sakshi is there. Chaitanya is there. Nirvikalpaka Chaitanyam tada avabhasate. It is definitely there. And so, we have done a thorough analysis. First, we started with the individual makeup of this body, mind, sense complex, and we saw the mithyatvam of all of them because they are crafted by what? Pancha koshas. The 5 koshas associated with the 3 gunas make up for the individual body, mind, sense complex. And the five, and then what? And then we saw also how this individual gets entrapped, gets trapped in various areas. And what are they? The 5 koshas, the 3 states of experience, waking, dream, sleep, etc. And then after that, when all this is understood as variable, and then the whole discussion leads us to the invariable I that is equated to Bhagavan. And who is this Bhagavan? That was already talked about in verses 16, 17 and 18, which we did in the previous Janma. Okay, in the last life, yeah. So it is good to revisit them now. Okay, let us chant those verses and understand them, because upon that is contingent how we go forward, because we'll just revisit them just briefly so that we know that we have done them and that there is little arthaspuranam. Arthaspuranam means what? What does that mean? Yeah, where the meaning of these verses that were already understood shines. So we already saw that there are 2 kinds of Maya. We saw that in verse 16. Sattva Shuddha Vishuddhibhyam, then Shuddha Avishuddhibhyam. So one is Shuddha Sattva, and then the other is wrong Sattva, not Ashuddha Sattva. And the Maya is divided into 2. And then what is this Ishvara? This Maya, the one who has done Vashikaranam. Vashikaranam means the one who does not fall under the spell of Maya. That is this. That is the idea. Yesterday we saw Aham cha tvam cha Rajendra Lokhanathau Ubhavapi, Ubhav api. Both are world lords, you and I. What are you? Lord of the world. What am I? Lorded by the world. This is the difference. So, what is Ishvara? So, the definition of Ishvara is given very well in verse number 16. What is that Ishvara? The one that does not come under the spell of Maya. The one for whom Maya has no effect. And then what is the Jiva? The one who is fried by Maya, nicely, yeah, nicely fried in the hot oil of samsara by Maya, and then that is the one. Who is that? Jiva. And that one is talked about in verse number 17. What is that? Avidya Vashagaha. The same Chaitanya, under the spell of avidya, what happens? Then there is anekadha vaichitra karanam. So there is the other aspect of Maya in the form of upadana karanam, which we are going to see now in 44. Upadana karanam, nimitta karanam. We have just introduced these 2 concepts. We are going to see them in detail. So what is the Upadana Karanam? Raw material. So the raw material is under the spell of avidya, and it is just therefore whatever comes out in the form of the raw material of the Jagat is what? Jada Vastu. Only Jada comes out. And then we saw how that this tamas, this Maya associated with tamoguna becomes the raw material for Viyat Pavana Tejombu Bhuvaha Bhutani Jagnire, for the for the creation of all the 5 elements, the tamas aspect of Maya becomes the cause. This was already seen, and so the same thing is going to be repeated here. Why should it be repeated when it was already seen? One reason, because we don't remember, number one, and it's a long chapter. And then second is, it is a certain kind of a technique called Simhavalokanam. Simhavalokanam means taking stock of what we have studied. Second reason, there are 3 reasons. So first reason is to refresh the memory that this has already been discussed. Simhavalokanam, it apparently in the wild, the lion will pounce on the carcass of something it has hunted. Actually the lioness hunts and offers it to the lion, from what we understand. Yeah. And then the lioness and the cubs have to watch from a safe, respectful distance as the lion devours the carcass of the deer or the hyena or whatever there is. And then because if its own children come near, it's going to growl at them and pounce at them. That's why they are all watching from a safe distance. Then when the lion has had its fill, what does it do? It turns around, licks its lips, turns around and walks away. And then the lioness and the cubs come and eat the leftovers. And then after it walks away, apparently after it reaches a different distance, it looks back. Aha, I was able to eat most of this or whatever. It looks back. So this looking back is called Simhavalokanam, the lion revisiting its repast. So here also we look back to see how much we have really assimilated. So that is one reason, how much of this we have assimilated, presented to us. That is one reason. And the second reason is to, of course, the first reason is to refresh our memory, to do Simhavalokanam, because it's a kind of a revision of what has gone. And then the third and the most imminent reason here, the most important reason here, is to look at this oneness from the standpoint of Maya. Why should we look at this oneness from the standpoint of Maya? Because that Maya is the agent, so to speak, that makes the one into what? Many. That is why this has to be understood in a new and slightly different way, but in keeping with whatever we have studied. Jagato yadupadanam Maya madaya tamasim Nimittam shuddha sattvam tam Uchyate brahma tadgira. So, one more time. Okay. Jagato yadupadhanam Maya madaya tamasim Nimittam shuddha sattvam tam Uchyate brahma tadgira. Now, the words tat and tvam, which constitute the 2 words in this Mahavakya. Which Mahavakya? Tattvamasi. So, these tat and tvam are going to be pointed out. First, the author takes up tat pada. What is this tat is going to be talked about here. And what is this tat? The Brahma Uchyate Tadgira. Tadgira Brahma Uchyate. By the word tat, this Brahman is known. And what is this Brahman? Is known from 2 standpoints. What is standpoint? From number 1, Upadana Karanam. Because the creator of all cannot go somewhere to borrow the raw material. Not possible. So the raw material has to be non-separate from Ishvara. Ishvara is both the maker and the material. And this is what technically is called abhinna, non-separate, nimitta, upadana, karanatvam. The one, and abhinna means the non-separate material cause and what? The efficient cause or intelligent cause. Abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. Because where will Ishvara go? How many Ishvaras are there? One. And then there is just like the dreamer. In the dream state, you cannot go and borrow somebody else's memories and somebody else's experiences to create your dream world. The raw material for your dream world is not separate from you. Similarly, the raw material for Ishvara's world, Ishvara Srishti, cannot be separate from who? Ishvara. This is what we have to understand. And what is the raw material? Maya. He is going to tell. Maya is the raw material. He is already told in verse number 17. Maya is the raw material. And then, and what is this Maya? We have to see. And what is this Maya? An as though power. An as though power that is further divided into 3 gunas. That brings with it 3 gunas. The as though power. Why do we say as though power? Because it is mithya. Why should Maya be mithya? So that we don't ask questions, where did it come from? Because it's tempting to ask, why Brahman had to have Maya? Where did Brahman get Maya from? How did Brahman get associated with Maya? If somebody asks you that question, what should you say? The same way you got associated with your shadow. Oh, but I am not associated with my shadow. Bingo. Same thing. Here also, Brahman is not really associated with anything. What to talk of Maya? It's all as though. But why are you having such an elaborate explanation on how the Jagat came? Because you keep asking, where did the Jagat come from? That's why we have to give the explanation. This is what Panchadashi Ch would say. This is what the Shruti would also say. If you didn't ask the question, where did the Jagat come from, we would not have to bring this elaborate setup, this kind of a model. Because Maya is mithya. Mithya means no beginning, anadi. And the second, mithya means dependent reality. What is it dependent on? Brahman. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Because that's all, everything. It is, Maya is Brahmashraya. Tamobhibhuta Maya, the Maya overpowered by tamas is what? Brahmashraya. The Sattva guna of Maya, Brahmashraya. Dependent on Brahman. And then what else? What is the third one? And then the inhibited sattva of Maya also dependent on what? Brahman. So don't ask where from this Maya came. It was like Brahman is always there, Maya is also always there. How? Avyakta. Avyakta, unmanifest. When it is there, when the Jagat needs to come, then she manifests. And generally, in the traditional rendition of Maya, there is a particular formula that is followed. And in fact, we see the Panchadashi Ch follow that formula in verse number 16. Let us look at that briefly again. In verse number 16, what is stated is that the second line, especially Maya Bimbo Vashikritya, having controlled the Maya, what we have? Sarvagya Ishvaraha. So there is, and this is a very easy explanation. That is why all the writers of Vedanta talk about this. Even the Upanishad presents this Maya in this particular manner, because the Upanishad, Maya has Upanishadic sanction. It is not a word that is made up. It is there, made up by the Panchadashi Ch. It is there in the Upanishad itself. two Upanishads, very important Upanishads. One is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where the Vakya is Indraha Mayabhihi Pururupam Iyate. Iyate gains. Indraha Ishvara. Ishvara gains what? Pururupam means Bahurupam. Puru here means Bahu. Indro Mayabhihi Pururupam Eti Iyate. And then, so that means that Indra is Ishvara. Ishvara gets this manifold form because of Maya. And then in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, we have another Vakya describing or discussing Maya. What is that Vakya? Mayam tu prakritim vidyat mayinam tu maheshwaram. Samayi srijate. So, Maya, what is Maya? Think of Maya as the raw material, Prakriti. And what is Mayin? This is a suffix called matup. Tadasya asti iti matup. The one that is, it's like a possessive suffix. So, Mayin. Mayin means what? Yeah, you can say it has two forms, Mayavin or Mayin. The one who has Maya under one's control. The one who is the possessor of Maya. What is the Jiva? Possessed by Maya. What is Ishvara? Possessor of Maya. Because you are not frightened by what you possess. But if you are possessed by what you possess, then we need to have a discussion about why it is so frightening. So here there is no being possessed by Maya. So this is how Maya is presented. And it's like a no-brainer. You simply say, okay, Mayin, who is Mayin? Ishvara. Ishvara not only does not come under the spell of Maya, but controls Maya and directs Maya how to do this Jagat, etc. Now, there is a problem with this scenario. Because it is very easy to mistake it. Why? Because we jivas have tiny brains and we like to catch on to concepts. And then what happens here is that Ishvaraha, masculine or feminine? Masculine. Maya, feminine. Ishvara controlling Maya translates to what? Man, some man is needed to control anything feminine. Yeah, anything feminine means it will go wild. Yeah. And same thing is unfortunately translated into gender relations. It is. Because this is what explains, this is what not explains, or it's not, this is what is this is what sometimes we have this incongruent behavior, especially as it pertains to patriarchy, which is an institution. It's not about man or woman, it's the institution to which we all subscribe. Whether we are men or women, we subscribe to that. We uphold that. Unknowingly, we uphold that. And so, there is this unfortunate thing that somehow whatever is feminine, it's a power all right, but it has to be controlled, otherwise it will go haywire. Same thing in interpersonal relations. So the same person will go to the Devi temple and what is that? Lie down flat on the floor, do namaskara, and then go home and yell at the spouse. Same person. So this is that incongruence there. And then this is unfortunate. It is a misunderstanding. That is not what is talked about at all. It's a misunderstanding. But that is how it is. And the same way, if one is building a goddess temple, they will say, oh, this has to be, what is that? There should not be Devi Prakopa. Devi Prakopa means goddess will get angry. Why will she get angry? I thought she was the mother of the universe and she is very patient and calm and compassionate. No, she'll get angry. We have to do something. and all these things. There are so many rules like this. Based on the wrong understanding, that wrong understanding of the Upanishad has translated to, unfortunately, to interpersonal relationships. Here, this Panchadishikara is very sensitive to how he presents Ishvara, because what is Ishvara? Ishvara is, we also hear another formula. What is the formula? Brahman plus Maya equals Ishvara. This is true. This is easy to remember formula, and it is true. So then, we never understand the question. There is a gap in the understanding, and what is the gap? So, to gain Ishvaratvam, Ishvarahood, the status of Ishvara, what did Brahman need? The help of Maya. Now this Ishvara turns around and controls Maya. What is this? At least Ishvara should be grateful. Okay, you have given me this status. This does not make any sense. So therefore, Panchadashikara puts it very, very, very beautifully. He takes the whole thing as Maya alone. Very erudite he was, and extremely sensitive to all these issues, and this kind of an explanation will not brook, there is no chance for any misunderstanding to creep in. So when we look at this verse, it becomes adequately clear. Jagataha upadanam yat, that which is the material cause of the Jagat. How did that come about? How did the raw material come about? Tamasim mayam adaya. So the upadana karanatvam of the Jagat was brought about by grihitva, means by grasping, by using the tamasic portion of Maya Shakti, which has given rise to all the insentient things in the creation. Why? Tamas, inert. That's why. So this is upada Maya as upadana karanam. Uncontested, we find this in Bhagavad Gita, we find this everywhere. But the beauty is in the second line, and the second line is what? Nimittam. What is nimittam? Same Maya is nimittam. Same Maya is upadana karana, same Maya is nimitta karana. Usually what they say, upadana karana Maya, inert, nimitta karana Ishvara. What is the opposite of inert? Ert. Okay, so this is how they present it. But it is not entirely true, because the makeup of Ishvara is what? Maya alone. How is Ishvara crafted in the tradition? It is Brahman endowed with this mithya bhuta Shakti called Maya. And so therefore, here the whole thing is presented from the standpoint of Maya alone. Associated with tamas, what happens? Maya becomes the upadana karanam of the Jagat, the raw material that constitutes the Jagat from Vyadadi. Vyadadi means starting with a list called space, etc. Space, etc. means what? Yeah, all the 5 elements. Don't say space, rockets, astronauts, don't go there. Yeah, the etc. has to be in keeping with what we have studied. Okay, and so space, etc. That is the Maya associated with, again, as though Maya associated with the as though tamo guna. And then what is this Ishvara? What is the one that directs this whole thing? That is again Maya associated with Sattva Guna. Very beautiful. Associated with Sattva Guna, what do we find? We find an all-powerful being. We find Brahman manifest as an all-powerful being, Sarvagnya. Sarvagnya Ishvaraha, Sarvavit. You see the difference between Sarvagnya and Sarvavit? So, in the tradition, Sarvagnya is the one who knows everything in general. That is the Jiva also. We demonstrated how yesterday. And then Sarvavit means the one who knows everything in particular. So Ishvara knows Portuguese, so you can pray to Ishvara in any language, Portuguese, Sanskrit, and then any accent, doesn't matter. So this, what is it that endows this Brahman, as it were, with Sarvagyatvam and Sarvavetritvam? This is Maya Shakti with a different garb. What is the garb? Sattva Shuddhi. Sattvic aspect of Maya goes to make Brahman into Ishvara. The tamasic aspect of Maya becomes the raw material. Now, we know the three gunas. So, should Sattva direct Tamas or should Tamas direct Sattva? Abba, unanimity at last. Okay? So, this is very clear. Sattva is the one should be directing. Why? Because Sattva is knowledge. We already know this. Sattva is knowledge. Sattva is purity. Sattva is objectivity. Sattva is freedom from raga dvesha. This is what we say Antakarana Shuddhi, where we pray for the Sattva to preponderate. So that is the force. Sattva is the guna. Sattva is the force. That should be, and Sattva is what? Sentient. Sattva is sentient. So then should the insentient direct the sentient, or should sentient direct the insentient? Sentient. Sentient, pure of agenda. This is what Ishvara is. Sentient, pure of agenda, no hatred, no particular partiality for any aspect of the creation, a dispassionate creation, a creation that is there solely for the benefit of all the jivas, in keeping with their karma, in keeping with their desires. This kind of a creation to make is very, very difficult. Therefore, Sattva has to predominate. Sattva has to preponderate. You cannot have Tamas directing Sattva. Not possible. Not at all possible. We can see even in the realm of human affairs, if there is a tamasic leader, what will happen? No direction takes place. Soon the board of directors will vote such a person out and substitute that person with somebody else. This is what we will do. And so therefore, this is what has to happen. This is what exactly has to happen. The sentience, the sentient aspect of Maya, the pure aspect of Maya, and she who is dispassionate, she who is all Ananda, she who has no partiality, she who has the knowledge, she who is all knowledge, creates what? What does she do? She commands over that her own aspect of her, which is what? Inert, which is characterized by inert and not able to make decisions, and then so that inert aspect is also not rendered useless. The inert aspect is what? Constitutes the raw material. And Maya associated with the Sattva aspect of Maya, that same Brahman gets a title. What is that title? Ishvara. Only the word is masculine. You cannot say Ishvara is masculine. No masculine, no feminine here. We are beyond genders. Maya, the word is feminine. Maya is not feminine. Neither feminine nor masculine. We have to grow up here. And so these two things which are needed, like I said yesterday, for the pot to be made, we need the skill and the knowledge in the form of the potter, and then we also need what? Raw material in the form of clay. Now, in the worldly objects, the nimitta karana and upadana karana are far away. You go buy a small pot because you are ready to teach Vedanta classes. You need a teaching pot. You go and buy a small pot. In Deva Prayag, you can get all these tiny, tiny pots. You go to Deva Prayag and buy a small pot, and then what? Along with that, the potter also comes, her family comes, her children comes, her dogs come, her cat comes. Why? Abhinna nimitta upadana karanatvam. No. Nimitta karana you don't even know. Because the seller is different from the maker. You don't even know who made it. You have no idea. And you could care less. What do you have to do with the maker? Nothing. What are you interested in? Pot. You are not interested in the maker. And even if you go to a museum and admire some art and the painter is right there, yeah, nice to meet you, here please autograph something you will get, and then go away. You don't want to bring when you take the painting home, you don't want the painter to come, it will be a headache. Yeah, then you have to take care of the painter and entertain the fellow. That's very inconvenient. So therefore, we have a hard time understanding how the nimitta karana and the upadana karana can be resting in the same conscious entity. This is the problem. That's why the dream example is given. This is why the dream example is so useful, because in the dream, what are you? You are Ishvara. Of what? Of your dream. And what are you creating? A dream world. And to create that dream world, you need knowledge, you need the raw material in the form of memories and desire. Memory and desire become the raw material. Your own knowledge wields the raw materials and spins the dream. Another example is given in the Mundakopanishad. What example is that? Spider. Spider. Urnanabhi. The one with the woolly navel, because it has some kind of a wool coming out of its navel. So what is the weaver? Who is the weaver? Nimitta karana? Spider. What is the raw material? Spider. Same thing. Srijate grinhate. So if there is a spider here hanging, and then I say, oh, there you are. And then it doesn't want to be caught by me. It doesn't want to be petted by me. What will it do? It will eat up its thing and go up. And then if I am not paying attention, then with that same thread, it will come down. It will go up. It will come down. Abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. Same thing is given here. Very beautiful. So this way, through these examples, we can assimilate how in one conscious entity both these powers can rest. As a dreamer, I see that the dream jagat, crafted by the dream raw materials in the form of memory and desire, is already there. And then in the spider and other such examples, I can see how this is possible. This helps me assimilate the message of the Shruti, the message of the Upanishad, to see that this whole Jagat has the Ishvara here presented as the Sattva Guna of Maya is the knowledge behind the creation, and the Tamo Guna of the Tamomayi Maya is what? The raw material behind the creation. So Sattva Guna and Tamo Guna. These constitute the Upadana Karanam and the Nimitta Karanam, and this is what is referred to by the Tat Shabda. Tat Shabdena Lakshyate, Tat Gira Uchyate. This Maya in these two iterations is seen as Tat Shabda Lakshya. Okay, where is this, where am I here? We have accounted for Ishvara, we have accounted for what else? Jagat. What about me, Jiva? 45th verse will talk about that. Yada malina sattvam tam कामकर्मादिदूषितम् आदत्ते तत्परं ब्रह्म त्वं पदेन तदोच्यते यदा मलिनसत्त्वाभ्यां कामकर्मादिदूषितम् आदत्ते तत्परं ब्रह्म त्वं पदेन तदोच्यते. It should be dushitam. Yeah, because this is a spelling mistake here. What number is that? 45. Okay, hold on. Yeah, it's not dushitam because there is a gender problem otherwise. Yeah, kama karmadi dushitam. Okay, so now the same Maya is Ishvara from the standpoint of the Sattva Guna. That same Maya presents itself as what? From the standpoint of Sattva Guna, the same Maya presents itself as, look at the words, okay? Nimitta Karana. You stay with the text. This is very important. Stay with the text. So, endowed with Sattva Guna, the same Maya presents itself as what? Nimitta Karana. Endowed with Tamo Guna, the same Maya presents itself as Upadana Karana. And then in association with the Sattva Guna, the same Maya gets a new status. What is that? Ishvara. And so now, and that Ishvara is referred to as Tatpada. Tadgira Uchyate. This much we saw. What about me? So, the Jiva also has Sattva. What kind of Sattva? Malina Sattva. Sattva that fell in a rain puddle of what? Avidya. So, a Sattva that has embraced the tamas of avidya. So, the Sattva that is dushita by tamas. This is what is called rajas and tamas, but here tamas because of avidya. So therefore it is called malina sattva. Don't get caught off guard by the nomenclatures. Oh, now this new thing has come. What is this malina sattva? Malina sattva just means inhibited sattva. Ishvara's sattva completely free of inhibitions, and then Jiva's sattva is full of inhibitions. Why? Because of the embracing of avidya, the tamas aspect of Maya, rajas and tamas aspect of Maya, embracing that, so the sattva becomes inhibited. Or we can even say, we can even say the inhibited expression of sattva. Why? Because this sattva is associated with a individual upadhi of this particular body, mind, sense complex, this particular karma, and these ragadveshas. So the sattva is expressing through all of them, and then the sattva associated with a particular body, mind, sense complex, a particular karmic trajectory, a particular upadhi, has to be inhibited. Because tiny brain, what else will? Tiny buddhi. So the buddhi is tiny. And so the antahkarana can only hold this much. That is why it is malina. That's another reason it is malina. Because if knowledge has to come through an upadhi, a limited upadhi, a limited antahkarana, if the knowledge is coming through, it will always be inhibited, it will always be finite. Ishvara's knowledge is uninhibited, no inhibited, it is omniscient. Ishvara is all-knowing because there is no antahkarana. No, a knowledge without the knower, a knowledge without the container, an upadhi free knowledge. Think about that. That's why it is all knowledge, because there is nothing, no head. If Ishvara had antakarana, some days he would also say, I am depressed. Lord would say, I am really depressed. Why? Because nobody is getting moksha. Even though I have given the Upanishads, nobody is studying. Or Ishvara would say, I am tired of taking care of this world. There is nobody I can give it to every day. And on Wednesdays, these jivas in this ashram have off. And elsewhere, people have Sunday off, Saturday off, sometimes both. I have no days off. Today I am going to take off. Now that is what Ishvara would say if Ishvara had a head. If Ishvara's knowledge had to be expressed through an upadhi called antakaranam, called where the resting place of the mind, buddhi, ahankara, what else? The chittam, emotions, if it had to percolate through that and then come out, then it would be just like us. What is that? Inhibited sattva. Ishvara's sattva, sattva here means all knowledge. Ishvara's sattva disinhibited. No inhibitions, no limiting factor. Why? Because the upadhi is not there. The jivopadhi, the jiva's upadhi, where the knowledge comes through a particular sukshma sharira called the body mind sense complex, called the mind, etc. That is what causes this. That is one of the reasons why one is small knowing. That's why the direct meaning of the word Tattvamasi does not work. I am God, you cannot say. It is indicated. It is indicated by seeing the mitthyaness, mithyatvam of this upadhi and that upadhi. Infinite upadhi and limited upadhi. Upadhi is what? Satyam or mithya? Mithya. So the mithya upadhi is given up. What is there is only Satyam Brahma. This is how the equation is made. Very beautiful, absolutely wonderful. And so here, what does it say? So the yada malina sattvam adatte. So when the same Brahman takes on, grinhati, adatte means grinhati, takes on, grasps what? Malina sattva. Means this grasps or identifies with this finite body mind sense complex. What happens to the knowledge? All knowledge, the all knowledge has to go through the needle brain now, needle buddhi. So naturally it will be finite. So this is what is called malina sattva. And then, and why is it called malina sattva? Is given kama karmadi dushitam. Dushitam, vitiated. Vitiated, dushanam means vitiation. Vitiated, permeated by kama and karma. Adipadat, all the other things we can bring in. We will, we will bring that. So vitiated by kama, vitiated by desire, and the desire leads to karma. Why? Because if the desire is strong, or we should edit that and say, when the desire is strong, what does it do? It creates a severe pressure for itself to be fulfilled without any delay. I want it now. I want it yesterday. That shows the vega. Vega means pressure. Gita word. Bhagavad Gita word. Shaknoti yaha ihaiva sodhum prak sharira vimokshanat kamakrodhodbhavam vegam sa buddhiman sa sukhi naraha. So this is the word vega comes from the Bhagavad Gita. It's not the name of a scooter. Okay, yeah, so the vega literally means speed. Vega means speed. But here, the speed with which the desire possesses you meaning the pressure created by the desire is called Vega. And so the kama itself is not problem. Why? Ishvara also has kama. What kind of a kama? Kama without agenda, free kama. And what kind of kama Jiva has? Costly kama, not free kama, costly kama through which it becomes a trap. A kama that traps you because of the Vega. Vega means the urgency, the ever increasing urgency. Oh, I'm already so old. I have to fulfill this desire. I have to fulfill that desire. I have to go here. I have to go there. I have to gain this. I have to gain that. All this is the pressure. Every time there is pressure. Oh, I have to get married now. Why? Because in 1 year nobody will marry me. I'm growing old. This is the feeling of people. I have to bring a child into this world. Why? The biological clock is ticking. This is what the married people say. Both men and women. Biological clock ticking. Something has to be accomplished. Udana vayu tick, 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 tick. Going on and on. Kalo jagat bhakshakaha. Time is eating me up. I have to do this. Oh, I have only 10 years left. I am already 80 plus. And at the most I'll survive till 90. So what will you do? I have to do so many things. OMG. Lots of lists are made. Including what? Bungee cord jumping. Yes. Yeah. I'm telling you, next life, Urna Nabhi. All right. Yeah. So, this is all the kama in the head of the jiva, in the antahkarana of the jiva, embraced by Mataji. Who is Mataji? Avidya. Okay? Yeah. Embraced by the mother. Why is she the mother? Because she is the matriarch of the family tree. This is the family tree. At the head is the matriarch, Mataji, Avidya. Avidya has a baby, what is that? Kama, that is what is there. Kama has a child, action, because that karma is not going to make you sit still. So karma is what? Grandbaby of avidya. Karma means what? Karma phala will be there. Karma phala will be there. And karma phala will be there means what? Then punya will be there, papa will be there. So karma has twins, papa, punya. And then what is the next generation called? Rebirth, punarjanma. Adhogati, that's what will happen. Okay. So therefore, this is a never-ending cycle. This is called avidya kama karma shrinkhala, a chain in the form of a circle, a loop. Shrinkhala here means chain, but it's not a chain, which has an end. It is a chain that loops itself. Like the snake eating its own tail, doesn't know that it's eating its own tail. It says, oh, this is delicious. Why didn't I eat this before? Pretty soon, it destroys itself. So, there is like a mythical, figure of a snake eating its own tail in some Celtic tradition and all this. We see these kinds of drawings. Egyptian tradition also, we see this drawing. Ancient Egyptian tradition. And so, therefore, this is the gati of the jiva. The jiva is characterized by what? Avidya. The jiva is embraced. The jiva is in the tight embrace of mummy. What is the mummy? Avidya. And she is singing the jiva nice lullabies. She is rocking the jiva. The jiva wakes up or tries to wake up. Is this all that life is? Shh. Yes. Go to sleep, sweet one. You are too innocent. Don't let Vedanta spoil you. Oh, but I heard Tattvamasi somewhere. Shh. No, you didn't hear that. What did I hear then? Tat, because here, Sa Atma Tattvamasi, He Shvetaketu. And then Mata Avidya knows Sanskrit, knows Sandhi. Dirgha Sandhi she knows. So what will she say? A plus A, A plus A, Atma, A plus Atatvamasi. You are not that. Does this have to be taught by the Upanishad? This is already something that you know. But Mata Avidya is sweet talking. And then the baby Jiva gets up again, embraced. She is not a mother. You have to put an S in front of her, smother. Okay? Yeah, she doesn't mother, she smothers. And she keeps the Jiva lulled in a place of kind of lulled complacency. Look, all the other baby Jivas are sleeping. You should also be sleeping. Oh, is that so? Okay. That means what? All the other Jivas are crazily, asleep to the truth of themselves. Therefore what? You also, sweet one, be in avidya forever. Be with me. Avidya doesn't want to let this baby go. Be with me, be in me. Let me just hug you and hold you. This is what the avidya does. And then what? This Mataji sees all the children running around. See, you also run around. But they are digging a hole for themselves, mother. No, you also run around. You also dig a hole for yourself. Why? Because everybody is doing it. At least, even if you sink together, you will all be at least together. This is how one comes under the spell of avidya, and that itself is not a problem. Because all the other life forms do not make bad decisions because of avidya. We, the human beings, have the dubious distinction of what? Not only being embraced by avidya, but making bad decisions as a result. Embraced by avidya, what am I going to do? Choose the finite. After choosing the finite, I say, ayyo, what did I do? And then I try to make it infinite. Choose the finite, make it infinite. How can the finite you make into infinite? It is like I met one student long back, who was working in a funeral home. Funeral home he was working. This is in the United States. And then so I just asked, how is it to work there? I have a lot of stress. I said, I thought only living people cause stress. Now you are telling me even dead people cause stress. No, it's not the dead. It's the relatives. I said, how do they cause stress? And then he told me a recent incident where he got into trouble. So, great-grandma died at the ripe old age of 98. 98, she just died of natural causes. She had lived a great life. But in the last 3-4 years, she was bedridden, unable to eat, unable to eat much, unable to interact. As good as gone. In fact, the death is a release for such a life. She's lived a good life, but then last few years challenging, passes away. And the relatives kept calling, make her look alive. Make who? The dead body, she needs to look alive. And then he said, this is my problem. The whole 5 years she was bedridden, she was dead, even while she was alive. Now that she is really dead, now I have to bring her back to life. I said, how are you going to do that? Makeup. You have to put makeup on the face and all these things. So this is an extreme case of making the finite into what? Infinite. This is the problem with the jiva. We make bad decisions. After choosing the finite, we try to make it into infinite, or we choose the finite and drown in the puddle of, the jiva drowns in the puddle of its own tears, repeatedly chooses the finite again and again and again. This life finite, next life finite, third life finite, and then the Mundaka Upanishad says, Anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. Being deluded by the finite, the bling of the finite, and the baubles and the blings, all the alankara. Alankara means what? The nice embellishment of the finite fools the jiva, and the jiva repeatedly chooses the finite. And how? Anishaya, because of not making Ishvara-esque decisions. The decisions are coming from what? Tamoguna, Rajoguna, not Sattvaguna. The decisions are coming because of avidya because of ajnanam turning into anyatha jnanam. That is why the person falls into sorrow. This is, we'll see this more. What is the makeup of this jivahood? What is the indicated by the word tvam? Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.